Yesterday was a day for joy and celebration. We finally had a chance to see the Duchess of Sussex. That gave me my life. I was just like on this organic high throughout the entire day. And the news was coming in so fast and furious, my head was spinning. My head was spinning so much, I just fell asleep for 9 hours. I usually never sleep that long, but 9 hours? I'm not even sure I'm awake now, but I tell you, it really felt good. And as you can see, there was no video for you this morning. But sorry, I needed that rest, and it did feel really good. But as for the continued conversations from yesterday, I'm looking at what is it about Australian television that they just seem to have it in for the Duchess of Sussex? What is it? Why? You would think that Canadians would be closer to the, I guess, the royal family or to the UK than the people in Australia who are so far away. And these were the pirates and the. I was going to say, well, let me put it to you like this. Australia was founded by criminals. whether they were, I'm not going to say what they were because I'll get in trouble, but they were not exactly members of the local council, if you know what I mean. Okay, I'm gonna leave it alone because I'm not gonna say what kind of people, but as you know, the Australia originated as a penal colony, and so some of the people who were the founders of Australia, okay, I quit. I'm just not going to say it. But some of them made their money the old-fashioned way. They earned it. Petty thieves and such. That was how it was founded. And so you would think that the point that I'm trying to make, even though I'm being a little scandalous here, the point that I'm trying to make is that you would think that they were trying to distance themselves from all things royal, but instead it seems like on their television anyway that they are trying to take up the fight for the tabloids of the north of the UK. It's like they're in competition, especially the Sky News Australia. God, they're awful. What awful people. Awful people. And I guess, you can understand, a few years ago, an American went down there, Mr. Harry Connick Jr., and I do believe it was Australia. I don't think it was New Zealand. I think it was Australia. And he was on television, and these guys came out with blackface on. Blackface. And they were doing this imitation of the Jackson 5. And they had afros and blackface. And he told them, he's like, that's not cool. That's just not cool. He literally stopped the show so that he could lecture them about being racist. And this was on their television. And there's not much daylight between Australian television and the British television. It wasn't too long ago that you had people on British television that were doing the whole blackface thing in different forms and variations, but it was great humor. And as an American, you have to know, for me, seeing something like that on national television is a great rarity, and it never goes without punishment. But the fact that these are people that are either on television series or perhaps they're traveling around doing different variety shows and such. That was just unheard of. I mean, there was a skit that Cher has done with the Jackson 5 where she had the big hair as in the old school, but she didn't put on blackface. She performed with them, and she wasn't making a mockery of them. She was actually complimenting them by performing their music and appearing like she was the lost member of the Jackson 5. But on Australian television, these people actually used the blackface. And so, if that's any indication of the mentality of Australian television, the fact that this is okay, then that just says a lot about explains why they routinely go after the Duchess of Sussex day after day after day, because she's a woman of color. And they don't seem to have, it's almost like they have absolutely no conscience about this attack upon her because she's a woman of color. And they don't hurt, they don't bleed, they don't feel pain. So Harry Connick Jr. was there to judge a talent show contest. And could you imagine his horror when these guys come from backstage wearing blackface with big afros? And it wasn't just that they browned their skin, they blackened their skin. So the fact that day after day after day on Australian television, and am I right? Is that where Rupert Murdoch is from? He's from Australia? It just should come as to no shock to anyone that Australian television would still carry on this fine tradition of making a mockery of people of color on their television. So consider that next time you plan a vacation. And I have people that watch or listen to my channel every day from Australia. I have hosted an Australian in my home. Very nice kid. I have hosted an Australian in my home. But never would I ever want to visit Australia and turn on the television and find something like this. So I think it was an education for the people in Australia. This very shocking moment for an American visiting that country. Harry Connick Jr. told him that it just wasn't cool. That we have spent a long time trying to eliminate this idea of black people and buffoonery, only to have this happen. I believe it was 2009 that variety show took place. That in 2009 they were still doing this, and as far as I know, has it ever stopped? So there's a lot of issues with racism in Australia on their television, and I won't even get into the things that I've heard about the people of Australia. Again, you have your good and bad every place you go, so I'm not going to condemn a whole continent or a whole, I guess it's a continent. I won't condemn the whole continent based on a minority of people, but unfortunately, as a minority, I have been condemned by a minority of people, in the world that seems to think that something like this is entertaining. And so the new entertainment is going after this African-American woman, and every day, it doesn't end. To hear the things that they say to try to mock her, and dare I say it's even worse than television in the UK. In Australia, they don't seem to hesitate to launch the attack. And they're very in your face about it. But again, it should come as no surprise when something like this shows you exactly what they were capable of in 2009. Again, not the entire nation, but a minority of people who happen to be in broadcast television. Could you imagine if I was visiting Australia at that time and I turn on the televisions because I want to see Harry Connick Jr., an American music icon, an actor, and so on. And then I turn on the show and there's these people dancing around. And get this is the most... All of these men on the stage are doctors. They're physicians. These are physicians. Prior to this, they had met in medical school. As a person of color entering a hospital, I would hate to think that the person I'm depending on to save my life may have just entered a contest or a variety show contest and ran around in blackface. And that's the person I need to save my life. Yeah, so there you have it. No wonder Australian television is like this hotbed of hostility against the Duchess of Sussex. It's not that they don't know better, they don't care. They don't care. They don't want to do anything better. They want to make fun of the Duchess of Sussex, mock the Duchess of Sussex, and create this environment of racial hostility against the Duchess of Sussex. And they don't care. But, like I said, I believe that's where Rupert Murdoch is from, so why should we expect anything different? I mean, after all, it's only 2021. It's only 2021. Oprah went to Australia and received they said that Oprah's visit to Australia would rival anybody who's ever gone to Australia. And I do believe that those are sincere, good, kind, loving people that greeted the Oprah Winfrey's show and visit to Australia. Someone wrote a letter saying, why don't you come down here? And she had like this big fan base down there. But then this is the other side of Australia. Their television is attacking the Duchess of Sussex every day. And so the whole thing with Oprah's visit was like a big publicity campaign to get people to visit Australia. And it seems like a great place to visit. But like so many other places, I guess I'll just go to Canada. At least I feel better about Canada. I know there's racists up there too, but it seems to be more of an exception. I said it seems to be more of an exception than a given. So there you have it. For the most part, I have managed to avoid Australian television for a while, and I really do recommend it. If you accidentally click on it, again, remove it from your history as fast as possible so you won't get inundated with more and more crap from them, because it'll keep coming. One of the reasons why I'm very encouraged about the young people is that you finally had this, I guess it was not just a national conversation about race, but it was an international conversation about race. George Floyd changed so much for so many people, and in particular the young people. They had an opportunity to examine some of the lies that they have been told their entire lives about race and African Americans or black people wherever they are in the world. They received a fine education because of the death of George Floyd, and they started asking questions, and they began to challenge the powers that be. When they began to speak truth to power, I realized that something changed. And so sometimes when you see these confrontations, like say between the police and an African American, it's amazing that you'll find out the person on the other side of that camera is actually a white person trying to document police brutality. They're trying to right the wrongs themselves. And not just police brutality, but any place else where injustice exists, these young people are the ones that are like really the frontline soldiers that are helping to change the narrative. They're helping to tell the story. And some of them do it at great risk because they themselves eventually are targeted, but they're very brave and they're very determined, and they want the truth to come out. And so when you see these incidents with the Karens, or if you see, like, say, a duchess weaponizing her tears against the African American woman, then that it doesn't go without question any longer. People don't just say, oh, well, what did the African American do? They don't just assume that you had it coming. These kids are asking questions. These kids are fighting for the truth to come out. These kids are speaking truth to power. And that's why the Sussexes have such strong support from the young people. I watched a couple of YouTubers, God, whatever their names are, the guy and the girl, they, what is it, Leah and Michael, or whatever their names are. And they were saying that they kind of sided with the, and these, you know, of course they're English, they sided with the Duchess of Sussex, not in contempt for the royal family, or not to, you know, they, of course they love the Queen, but it's just that they identify better with the Sussexes than they do with the rest of the family. Is the only point that they were making, is that, you know, we're Team Sussex. That's no accident. So demographically, the royal family has less and less relevance as time goes by, and they have become a bit of a curiosity and oddity to the rest of the world. And actually, they have been for a long time. And, you know, like I told someone from the UK a long time ago, I just have fun with it. You know, this is someone who's a Republican who, you know, a British Republican who wants to get rid of the monarchy and have a republic instead. And I was just like, oh, are you serious? I mean, you know, that's the Queen, you know. But since the thing with the Duchess of Sussex, well, now when I cross the Atlantic Ocean, guess what? I'm a Republican too. I never thought I would call myself a Republican, but when I cross that ocean, I'm a Republican. But I guess whatever side of the Atlantic that you're on, the math doesn't lie. And mathematically speaking, the most vilified person in the press every day for several tabloid newspapers is the Duchess of Sussex. For several television shows in various places, they go after the Duchess of Sussex. They say nothing of Prince Andrew, who's the only one who may have, I stress may have, committed a crime. The Duchess of Sussex has committed no crime, but the person who may have been an active participant in an actual crime is the one that they don't touch. They have nothing to say about him. But I guarantee you that if they took the resources that they have used against the Duchess of Sussex, and if they had gone after Prince Andrew with that same vitality, with that spirited research that they use every day to try to create some kind of story to finally nail the Duchess of Sussex on something, there's just got to be something there. If they use that resource to go after Prince Andrew, what could they possibly do? What if Tom Bowers decided he would go after Prince Andrew? Has he ever written a book about him? Why don't he use his investigational journalism for something that really makes a difference? Because what he's accused of being a part of is quite horrific in comparison to someone who just wants to help women find work. Someone who has probably fed more hungry people than that Bauer will ever do with one of his books. Why don't you use that energy to go after someone who may have actually committed a crime? And I do stress, may have, possibly. We don't know. And why don't we know? Because he won't talk to the FBI. He's not taking any chances. Chances are he will never return to the United States ever again, which is fine. And if he does make a trip back to the United States, I'm sure because of his position in the family, he will have some implied immunity. So, but go after him. Leave our Duchess alone. Anyway, that's it for now. I was just incredibly frustrated by, this thing with the Australian television is so out of hand, and it doesn't cost them anything, so they continue to do this. There's no price to be paid for it. I mean, I guess we have had our equivalent somewhat, and that's with the Fox News here in the U.S. Again, Rupert Murdoch. But the Fox News has certain points where there are certain things that they don't cross. And the way that we deal with Fox News is the way we deal with a lot of these organizations in the U.S. We go after their wallet. That's how you defeat them, is to go after their wallet, because these organizations depend on the sponsorships from these advertisers. So if they don't have the ad revenue coming in, then they really can't afford to keep certain people around. And that's how you defeat them, is you have to hit them in the pocket. They say so much of the wildlife, so much of the animal life in Australia has managed to evolve in this isolation of the continent being so far removed from everything and everybody. And somehow the indigenous people found it, 40, 50, however many thousands of years ago. But things was pretty much in harmony and balance until the penal colony was established, and after that nothing was ever the same. And if you ask me, that same criminal mentality okay, I promise I wasn't going to go there, so I won't. Oh, but if you knew what I wasn't saying. Anyway, that's it for now. Please like and share. Read my thoughts, if you will. That'll take you to some pretty dark but yet humorous places.